Inside the residence of Duke Aspic, the butler lifts the lid from the dish, revealing a fish, and courteously thanks the lady for her patience. Every attendant and the maid begin to shake as her expression twitches, and without any warning she hurls the plate directly at his face, causing everyone to flinch. She snaps that she wants meat and commands him to prepare it immediately. The butler forces a smile as sauce slides down his face and answers that they have fresh boar fillet today, politely asking how she prefers it cooked. She exhales sharply and asks how long he has worked here. He calmly replies that he has served her for just over 30 years. She smiles and says that in that case he should already know that today is an important day since she will receive saint training, so he should cook it exactly how she likes. He responds that he will inform the chef to prepare it accordingly. But then she looks up, wearing an eerie smile, and he instantly stiffens in fear and drops to his knees, apologizing and saying he believed it would be improper for her to eat raw food before training. While kneeling, she places her foot on his head and presses it down with a smile, saying that such behavior deserves punishment. She snaps her fingers and the guards step forward. The butler pleads for mercy as they seize him, crying for help, but the attendants and the maid can only stand frozen, terror written across their faces. One guard hands the lady a rod. She glances toward the attendants and orders one of them to take the food to the punishment chamber, adding that she enjoys her meat soaked in blood. He replies that he understands. It is known that she is the sole daughter of the noble Aspic family. She was raised with a refined education from childhood, yet due to her excessively indulgent upbringing, she has become a monstrous villainess despite being a saint. Meanwhile, in the slime village, a slime twists in hunger, wobbling around while searching for food. It suddenly spots someone and realizes it is a human, which is rare. It knows that humans exist who can even defeat dragons and that approaching them carelessly is dangerous. The slime chooses to hide and thinks humans are incredibly fortunate, as they never starve even when weak and their homes are massive. Thinking about how different their lives are from slimes who must quietly survive in the forest, the slime wishes it could become human and escape this endless hunt for food. But no matter what, a slime remains a slime. At that moment, a voice calls out to it, making the slime jump. She quickly apologizes for startling it and gently tells it not to worry because she means no harm. She explains that she did not expect to see a fellow kin in a place like this, so she felt compelled to greet it. The slime feels puzzled as she extends her hand and tells it to look closely, saying that she is also a slime. The slime notices the ring on her finger and wonders how she became human, filled with curiosity and confusion. She smiles and asks if it wants to know, and it answers yes. They sit together on a rock as she explains everything. The slime asks if it means they must imitate human blood, and that this is how a slime becomes human. She confirms it is true and explains that they enter a corpse that is as fresh as possible. She says human life is the best, and once a slime tastes human food, returning to the forest becomes impossible. She then offers the slime a piece of jerky, saying it is nothing special but asking if it wants to try it. The slime accepts it, thinking it might resemble tree bark, but the moment it tastes it, it is utterly shocked and begins to tremble because it is so delicious. It starts bouncing around excitedly and asks if humans eat food like this every day. She smiles and replies that this is nothing and that the human world holds even better food. With a grin, she introduces herself as Loomer and says that if the slime is interested, they will meet again in the human world someday. She then leaves, while the slime stays behind, still thinking about the jerky it tasted and how unbelievably good it was. Night has already fallen, but the slime continues thinking about what happened earlier, realizing that slimes can become humans too. It decides to search for a corpse and turns around, noticing the body of a guard nearby. It moves closer, only to discover that it is nothing more than a skeleton. It starts wandering around, checking everywhere it can, but quickly realizes how difficult it is to locate a truly fresh body. Suddenly, it hears someone mutter that it might be time to find somewhere to sleep. The slime freezes, questioning what it just heard, when a rock suddenly flies toward it, sending it into panic mode. It hurriedly darts away and hides behind a tree, carefully peeking out before inching forward again. Soon enough, it finds a girl lying on the ground. The slime notices her elegant clothing, the shining gem she carries, and her smooth, neatly kept hair, realizing this must be what Loomer referred to as a noble. It wonders why someone like her would collapse in a place like this. It finds it odd that she is not moving and detects a faint scent of poison. There is no heartbeat and no breathing, yet her body is still slightly warm, and the slime realizes it has finally found a fresh corpse. It becomes ecstatic, knowing this means it can become human. First, it decides it must remove the poison from her body. The poison is far stronger than expected, making it realize that humans truly stand no chance against such substances. It does everything it can, but being a slime, it cannot fully eliminate it, so it forces the poison out through her mouth. After that, it remembers the next step is the heart. Unlike slimes, humans live by their heart rather than a core, so it must make it beat again. As it tries, it senses that something is wrong, cannot make it function properly, and it also begins to feel incredibly exhausted and weak. Unable to continue, it decides to rest for a short while. After some time, it opens its eyes and suddenly notices that its body feels heavy, and that it is extremely thirsty. It moves toward a nearby pond and drinks water. When it looks at its reflection, it realizes it is no longer a slime. She understands that it worked and feels overjoyed, knowing she has cleared the first hurdle. She collapses onto the ground and stares up at the sky, but quickly reminds herself that it is far too soon to celebrate. She must perfectly imitate the original human. As the memories start flooding back, they are so painful and disturbing that she collapses again and begins vomiting, realizing the person whose body she now inhabits lived a deeply miserable life. She understands that copying someone like this would make everyone despise her, but then realizes this girl was already hated. She wonders if she has taken over the body of a complete failure. Unsure what to do, she remembers Loomer saying that once a slime takes over a human body, there is no going back. She knows she will be killed if she behaves incorrectly, and then it dawns on her that this girl was likely murdered once already. If she clumsily tries to deceive others and they discover she is a slime, she will be killed regardless of her efforts. She begins to cry while staring at her reflection in the water. Then she tells herself that it would be better not to imitate the girl at all. Instead, she will become her total opposite. If she stops creating resentment, she believes things will eventually work out. She realizes the girl's personality is beyond saving, but not only was she a noble, she was also a saint. She decides she will become a saint loved by everyone. It is all for her survival and the life she dreams of. It will not be easy, but she will try her hardest. With that determination, she clenches her fist. She tries to walk but fails as her entire body trembles, making her realize just how difficult controlling a human body is. She tells herself to move her right foot forward and extend her left hand, but ends up slipping instead. She expected that. She rolls along the ground and wonders if simply rolling might actually be faster. After all, slimes never needed hands or feet, and delicate movements like using fingers are still far beyond her abilities. For now, grabbing things should be sufficient. She picks up a stick and attempts to walk with its help, but slips again and falls straight into a pond. Soaked, she realizes how cold and painful it feels, but having these sensations proves she has truly become human. She then notices an injury and realizes how fragile human skin really is. As expected, the blood is colorless and transparent since she is only imitating it, and if anyone were to see this, her identity would be exposed instantly. She stands up once more, understanding that because of this, she must never get injured in front of humans, and she must learn how to walk properly, so she does not appear unnatural when she finally meets them. She continues drilling herself on how to walk, and after some time, she releases a long breath. The scenery viewed through human eyes is unbelievably beautiful. As a slime, she could only perceive the movement of magicules, but now she can observe the world in full detail. The air brushing against her skin feels oddly nice. It is night, and as she glances around, she notices the scent of darkness and the stars glowing clearly overhead. She feels genuinely grateful that she managed to become human. She keeps moving forward until she reaches a town and realizes she has finally made it. She steps inside and looks around at all the humans, noticing just how many of them exist. When she turns, she spots two guards and immediately hides. She recognizes them as the guards who killed the noble girl. Her heart pounds as she thinks that if those men notice her, she is finished. After some time, she steps out again and reminds herself that she is human now. She notices a woman with a small child and watches their expressions, thinking that humans seem pleased when their heads are patted. The child suddenly notices her and tells his mother that she is a pretty lady. The woman looks at her and turns completely stiff, unable to behave normally. She calls out to her as Lady Jelly. The woman hastily lifts her child and runs away. When people hear her being called Lady Jelly, their attention turns toward her. Once they notice her, they all start fleeing. Someone peeks at her from behind a door, and the instant she looks back, he slams it shut. She thinks to herself that she understands they must despise her deeply. It seems the road to getting along with humans will be painfully long. According to the memories she inherited, this should be the correct house, though it is so massive that she decides to find the residence first. As she steps onto the stairs, all the attendants freeze in shock. She wonders why they are so startled and thinks that maybe she is not imitating the original person well enough. They begin shaking shaking and call out to her, and she feels relieved that they did not uncover the truth. They welcome her back and say she must be exhausted from her long journey. She looks around at the magnificent house and the humans bowing their heads before her, realizing this is what life as a noble looks like. As she climbs the stairs, she almost trips. The butler comments that it seems she must have endured rigorous training this time and says they will prepare her bath at once. She begins sweating nervously, wondering what the correct response should be. She knows she cannot allow her identity to be exposed in a place like this. The butler waits for her answer as she worries he already thinks she is acting oddly. She tells herself she has to escape this situation and quickly turns around, saying she feels tired and would like to rest now. Everyone freezes, and she realizes what she said sounded strange. She forces a smile, thinking she can simply smile her way through this, but that only leaves them even more stunned. They all lower themselves and scramble as they rise from their knees, apologizing repeatedly. They say they will prepare her bed immediately and ask her to forgive them. She replies that she understands and thinks to herself that somehow it worked. Even her plain response seems to shock them further. The butler orders the maids to prepare a change of clothes immediately, and they rush off. She lies on the bed and feels how soft it is, completely different from sleeping on grass. But then she remembers how terrified everyone looked because of her and thinks they must truly loathe her. Then she recalls that she might have seen servant clothing in the forest earlier. She rolls around on the bed, and that is when she hears something. She wonders if one of the servants in this house could be the one who killed her. She starts thinking it through and tells herself she should carefully assess the situation. From the memories, she realizes the girl was a saint traveling to the mountains for training. Somewhere along the way, someone poisoned her and pushed her off a cliff. The culprit must be one of the servants in this house. Though she cannot recall his face, she does remember his clothing. Sitting on the bed, she wonders why she cannot remember the killer's face at all. There are too many problems, and she grips the pillow tightly. She wonders if she can truly become a saint loved by everyone. Still, she closes her eyes, thinking that she finally made it this far, and decides she will sleep, at least for tonight. Morning comes, and birds chirp outside the window as a maid knocks on her door and announces that the meal preparations are complete. She slowly rises from the bed, still half asleep, and walks toward the mirror. The instant she sees her reflection, she lets out a scream. The maid panics and rushes inside, asking if everything is alright. She keeps staring at herself in the mirror, then realizes it is real. She has truly become human. She turns to the maid, forces a smile, and reassures her that she is fine, politely thanking her for checking. This only leaves the maid even more confused, wondering if she heard that correctly. Shaking slightly, the maid asks whether she would like a meat or fish dish today. She replies that she wants meat. Soon, the cook prepares the meal as she sits at the table. Everyone around her wears tense expressions. The cook trembles as he places the plate down and thanks her for waiting. She stares at the meat, begins to drool, and her eyes gleam as she realizes the food has finally arrived. She smells it and then quickly reminds herself that she cannot do anything that might expose her identity. She picks up the fork and knife, thanks them for the meal, and takes a bite. As her body starts shaking from how amazing it tastes, she realizes she did it again. Everyone freezes at her reaction. She forces a smile, telling herself it just tastes too good to control, and that the flavor becomes even richer when mixed with the sauce. After finishing everything, she asks the cook if he has a moment. He jumps in fear, clearly rattled, but she keeps smiling. She softly says the word divine, which shocks him even more. In his mind, memories flood back. He has seen countless servants ruined by her cruel discipline, and recently it had grown far worse. Even the butler who served her for over 30 years is now beyond saving. The servants had even given her the title heinous villainous because she smiled while punishing them. The cook begins to shake, wondering where he went wrong. He prepared the meat exactly how she prefers, and he cannot leave his wife and son behind. Suddenly, he collapses to the floor, trembling and begging her to spare him. But before he can finish, she grabs him and asks if he made this. She tells him it is very tasty and far better than a caterpillar. Everyone is stunned. In his mind, he interprets this as her saying he is at least more useful than a caterpillar. He looks up in disbelief, wondering if she actually complimented him. One attendant whispers that he barely avoided punishment and that they cannot believe he escaped discipline in that situation. A maid then brings out a cake for her, but unfortunately she slips and the cake lands directly on her face. The maid starts shaking, realizing what she has done and thinking her life is finished. Jelly calmly removes the cake from her face as the maid bows repeatedly and apologizes for her carelessness. But But instead of becoming angry, Jelly begins eating the cake. The maid's eyes fill with tears, convinced that this time she will not survive. Everyone feels a cold tension fill the room. Jelly smiles and asks if she could bring her some more. They are completely stunned by her response. The maid apologizes again and says she will bring a change of clothes immediately, but Jelly says it can wait and gently asks if her legs are all right. The maid answers that she is fine. Jelly smiles and says that is good, then asks her to bring seconds and be careful next time. The others feel even colder, interpreting her words as a warning to be careful with their lives next time. One attendant whispers that ever since she returned, she feels like an entirely different person. Not only are her table manners strange, but nothing bad has happened so far. Still, he is too frightened to get involved. They believe she may just be deceiving them with unusual behavior. After all, she is the heinous villainess, so they are certain she will blame them later. Jelly thinks to herself that she can hear everything they are saying, and they are right. She really is different now. On the inside, she is just a slime, but she wonders how deeply they truly hate her. She tells herself that she should smile whenever they make eye contact, since that is how humans get along. When she smiles at them, they feel a chill, wondering if she is threatening them. She then speaks up and casually asks if the main course is still not ready. They are all shocked, and one of them secretly wonders why she is still alive. The servants begin whispering among themselves, blaming one man and asking what is going on, saying this is not what they agreed on. They helped him because he insisted he could absolutely handle it. They call him a fraud and tell him to go rot by himself. The man twitches as he glares at her from afar, clenching his fist, thinking that it was never a lie to begin with. He is convinced that he killed her. One of the senior maids inspects the dirt on the window and orders it to be cleaned again, but the new maid responds that this is already the 5th time she has wiped it. The maid snaps back, asking if she is trying to talk back despite being a newcomer, and the others join in, mocking her and calling her useless. The newcomer apologizes and thinks to herself that she has to endure this, otherwise she will not be able to buy medicine for her mother if she loses this job. She lowers her head and says she will redo it immediately. They tell her she probably knows nothing since she is new, but claim they are only saying this for her own good. The newcomer's name is Aaron. One maid warns her that if Lady Jelly finds even a grain of dust, she will be finished for good, just like the one before her, and asks if she has not at least heard the rumors. Aaron remembers hearing that the previous servant was subjected to horrific punishment over the slightest haze on a window and suffered such extreme physical and mental damage that from one day onward no one ever saw her again. Another maid adds that, now that she thinks about it, the garden tree was planted on the same day that servant vanished, making Aaron flinch. The maid stares at her and asks if she understands what she is implying. Aaron starts shaking. The maid orders her to repeat the cleaning at least 5 more times and smirks, adding that the maid assigned to Lady Jelly today has run off, so Aaron will take her place. She says Aaron should feel honored, and a chill runs down Aaron's spine. The maid pushes her and tells her to go immediately. Aaron knocks on the door, greets Jelly good morning, and announces that morning has arrived. Jelly rolls out of bed while mumbling that she is still tired. Aaron steps inside just as Jelly suddenly stands up, and Jelly realizes how close that was, then once again remembers she is human now. She smiles and says she must have been half asleep. A senior maid suddenly orders Aaron to kneel at once and hands a stick to Jelly, saying she should discipline Aaron for disturbing her rest, as that is the usual procedure. Jelly tosses the stick aside and says she will not do that, then helps Aaron stand up. Aaron thanks her repeatedly. Jelly wonders to herself if it is really normal to think about whipping someone just for waking her up. She realizes this used to be the standard, and it is no surprise people hated her enough to poison her. The maid then introduces Aaron, saying she will be attending to her today. Aaron nervously introduces herself and says she looks forward to serving her. Jelly asks if this is her first time being assigned to her. Aaron answers yes. She only arrived a few days ago. She admits there are many things she is still unfamiliar with but promises she will do her best. Her hands are trembling, and Jelly thinks that even someone she has barely spoken to is this terrified of her. Knowing she is deeply disliked, she decides she must leave a good impression and get along with this servant today. She tells Aaron that it is nice to meet her as well. After some time, Aaron brings her black tea. Jelly thanks her and notices how pleasant the tea leaves smell once dried and fermented. She thinks humans are incredible, turning scent and color into hot water and then drinking it. The tea looks so divine that she almost feels it is too precious to drink, but she tries it anyway and finds it extremely bitter. She wonders what this even is, unable to believe it comes from the same humans who can make meat taste so amazing. She takes another sip and thinks that while it is bitter, there is a deep richness beneath it that meat does not have. It is good in a different way. Aaron looks anxious and asks if it did not suit her taste. Jelly says it is not that and explains that it strangely makes her want to drink more. despite the bitterness, the depth of flavor pulls her in. She finally says that it is very delicious. Aaron thanks her, and Jelly thanks her back as Aaron smiles and says the honor is hers. Aaron then shares that her mother used to say the same thing whenever she made tea at home, saying it was really good and her siblings would agree, which always made her happy. Jelly replies that it must be a treasured memory for her, and Aaron nods. Jelly thinks to herself that things seem to be going smoothly and wonders if she is doing okay. Aaron becomes emotional as she explains that she used to care for her mother and handle all the housework, and everyone in her family would praise her. That is why she decided to become a maid so she could take care of others. She says she doesn't have any special talents, so she wanted to give this her absolute best. She also admits she wasn't sure if she could stick with this job, since her seniors had been scolding her from the moment she arrived, but now she feels a bit more confident because Jelly complimented her tea. Jelly says that's good to hear and thinks that means they are getting along well. Out of curiosity, she then asks how her mother used to praise her. Aaron thinks for a moment and says her mother would always pat her on the head. Jelly remembers that humans feel happy when their heads are patted. She stands and gently pats Aaron's head, telling her she is doing an excellent job. Aaron suddenly starts crying, and Jelly thinks this is perfect, believing she has made a good impression. But Aaron cries even harder, which makes Jelly panic. She asks if Aaron is hurt and wonders if she dislikes her now. Aaron begs for forgiveness, which only confuses Jelly further as she wonders what on earth is happening. After a while, Aaron thinks to herself that Jelly is actually a kind person and that the rumors must have been false. Later, the other maids ask Aaron how Lady Jelly's welcome was. She replies that it was wonderful, leaving them speechless. She even says she would like to serve by her side forever if she could. One maid tells her she can repeat the act tomorrow if she enjoyed it that much and says they'll see how long this act lasts. Aaron beams and asks if she really means it, thanking her repeatedly. The other maids are bewildered, wondering how, even after being thrown toward that heinous villainess, she is still saying thank you, and they begin to think she might be an extraordinary girl. Meanwhile, Jelly rolls around on her bed, wondering where she went wrong. She is convinced that Aaron must hate her now and thinks to herself that getting along with people is ridiculously hard. The cook thanks her for waiting and presents a juicy steak with 3 thick layers of meat, explaining that it fully showcases the flavor of the finest cut, along with all his dedication. She is already drooling as he proudly mentions that he even decorated the top with the ducal crest. She eats with delight, and after a while, Aaron gently wipes her mouth with a cloth. The maids shiver, certain that if anyone else did that for the lady, they would be smacked. But instead, Jelly thanks Aaron and calls her considerate. The maids are completely stunned and start thinking that maybe she really is an exceptional maid. They also notice that even the cook, who prepared such a lavish dish, isn't being scolded and seems to have gained full confidence. They watch the way Jelly gazes at the meat like a girl in love, and it makes sense why the cook looks so proud. One attendant quietly wonders if she is really Lady Jelly, since it has been about a week since her return from training, and she has acted like this the entire time. But they remind each other not to be fooled and wonder if they've already forgotten. Suddenly, Jelly drops her fork by accident, and an attendant quickly snatches it before it hits the floor, saying he will fetch another one immediately. She asks why another one is needed, which makes him twitch, and she tells him to hand her the fallen fork. He looks puzzled as she calmly says it seems the fork was simply too heavy for her. She tells him to hold out his hand, and when he does, she grabs it and shoves the fork into his palm, making him yelp as his hand shakes. She smiles and says she knew it was just too heavy. He stammers that he will fetch a lighter fork immediately as his hand turns bloody and he begins trembling, but she steps on his hand and asks if it was only the fork that was heavy. She then grabs a knife and says it seems some punishment is required. The attendants are horrified and try to stop her, but she turns and coldly asks if they think so highly of themselves that they can interfere with her actions. They beg her forgiveness, saying he will truly die if she uses the knife. She goes blank for a moment before asking if they really thought she would make such a mistake, because if she killed him she would not be able to hear his screams, so how could she possibly enjoy it? They realize she really is a devil who does not view humans as humans. In truth, they know that unless her entire heart and soul are replaced, there is no chance she will ever reform. One of them thinks that is correct and that he can try again if he fails. He no longer has time to worry about appearances. He takes out a bracelet and looks at the girl, thinking that he must act even at his limit, and if she can be saved, he will do anything. He glares at her, convinced that even this farce is part of her revenge, telling her to laugh while she can because he has nowhere to run and his mind is set that he must defeat the devil with no other choice. After a while, Jelly is in her room with the maid Irene, Irene, who mentions that everyone made a fuss when she left to work away from home. Irene then realizes she has been talking about herself too much, but Jelly smiles and tells her it's fine and to keep going. Jelly thinks about how she should apologize to Irene for getting on her bad side, yet for some reason Irene sticks by her more than the others. She thinks humans are complicated but is just happy Irene does not dislike her. Irene then wishes Jelly good night and leaves the room. Jelly looks out the window and stares at her reflection, making silly faces as she tells herself she is finally getting used to this body. She thinks humans are far too complex and even a simple draft feels painfully cold. She starts shivering and closes the window but ends up hurting herself, then notices she feels dizzy. She looks at the cut and sees it is still slow to heal. She tells her little slimes to guard the door and window, glancing at the slimes on her hands and wondering why her thoughts aren't getting through properly. One of them suggests it might be because she has become human, while another complains that it wants to eat meat. She finds it troublesome and tells them again to watch the door and the window, to split up, and to alert her if anything happens. One moves to the door and the other to the window. She thinks that she will know immediately if anyone enters. She spins around happily, thinking that this comfortable life will be hers forever as long as the culprit is caught. She flops onto the bed and hopes nothing happens as she soon drifts off to sleep. At that moment, an attendant walks down the hallway and someone asks if he is still working. He replies yes and says it will be chilly tonight, so he thought he would bring Lady Jelly a blanket. The other attendant praises his dedication and he smiles and thanks him. He stands before the door and slowly opens it before stepping inside. Beneath the blanket he carries, he is hiding a dagger as he quietly approaches her bed. As he looks at her sleeping face, he mutters that only her sleeping expression resembles that of a gentle saint. One of the slimes watches and recognizes him as the butler named Will, if it remembers correctly, and wonders what he is doing here so late. Deciding it's better to wake Jelly, it moves closer to her. Meanwhile, Will gets lost in thought as he stares at her, then suddenly shakes his head and tells himself he has no time to hesitate. He wonders when he became such a coward and urges himself to just do it, to stab her in the heart. Just before he can act, Jelly suddenly opens her eyes, and he is completely shocked, frozen in place and trembling because he cannot believe she woke up. Trying to cover his intentions, he says that it is getting very cold tonight. Jelly shivers slightly and agrees that it really is a little chilly. He smiles softly and tells her that with that in mind, he brought her a blanket, then bows his head and says he will accept any punishment she wishes to give him for entering her room uninvited. Jelly calmly replies that she would never punish him for something like that and that he was actually being thoughtful. She then examines him more closely and asks his identity, curious if she guessed correctly. Will lowers his gaze and says that her kind words are more than he deserves. For a moment, he wonders if she has truly changed, but another thought crosses his mind as he recalls that even if she has reformed, it would not save Emma. Inside the locket he carries is a picture of a girl named Emma, and he believes that ending Jelly is the only way to save his sister. At that moment, the slime notices the dagger in his hand and panics, realizing it has to alert her. Just as he moves to strike, the slime knocks over a vase, and the sound makes Jelly react instantly. She grabs his wrist and stops him before he can stab her, realizing how close it was and that if the slime hadn't warned her, everything would have ended. She also knows that if he had cut her with the knife, he would have discovered that she is a monster, and she would have been finished. Will struggles as she lets go of his arm, and he falls to the ground from the force. Jelly realizes that an untrained human body is weaker than she expected and thinks she must be more careful with how much force she uses. Will calls her a wretch and demands to know how long she plans to toy with him before charging at her again with the dagger. Jelly apologizes in advance, saying sorry, but this might sting a little. She grabs the knife from his hand and shoves him back, making him crash to the floor. Immediately worried, she wonders if she went too far and rushes over to check if he is alright. While lying there, Will speaks in shock, saying that back then he was sure he had thrown her off a cliff and that everything should have ended there, that he believed the villainous Jelly had died that day. Hearing this, Jelly realizes that he was the one responsible. Just then, someone knocks on the door. A butler outside says he heard a loud noise and asks if she is okay. Jelly realizes that if she reveals what happened, Will be caught, and she will lose her chance at a peaceful life. Yet leaving it like this still leaves a bitter feeling in her heart. As the man tries to open the door, she quickly stops him, saying she is fine and simply knocked over some furniture while half asleep. Will is stunned that she is going so far to protect him. The butler says he is relieved she is unharmed and then leaves. Jelly exhales softly and turns to Will, asking why he tried to do this. He slowly takes out the locket and shows it to her. She murmurs who it is, and he explains that it is his sister Emma, the one he mentioned before, and, as expected, she does not remember. He says that he was supposed to save his sister by eliminating her. Jelly listens, visibly shaken, and begins to question what really happened in the past. As they stand among the trees in an isolated area, she glances at him indifferently and asks what kind of conversation he wants to have with her in a place like this. After a brief pause, he apologizes for making such a personal request and explains that he has a sister named Emma who is sick and bedridden. She looks bored and simply asks, "So what?" He bows deeply, stammering that he would do anything to save his sister and that he needs her help. She echoes, "Anything?" He looks at her with unwavering resolve and answers yes. A faint smile appears on her lips as she says that sounds amusing, and she is willing to consider helping him if he can keep her entertained. He then leads her to a spot where an injured and exhausted maid is lying on the ground, barely moving. She looks at the maid with an oddly sincere smile that leaves him stunned. She remarks that the girl can no longer even cry out, speaking as if it is unfortunate, and then instructs him to dispose of her. She reminds him that he promised he would do anything for his sister and says that if he gets rid of this woman, she will cure Emma immediately. He gulps and hesitantly asks what kind of offense the woman committed. She repeats the word offense as if pondering, then casually replies that the window she cleaned stayed foggy, and asks if that isn't reason enough. She leans closer, grinning as she whispers that if she cannot punish the innocent, she can always invent a reason. His whole body trembles as she suddenly appears right beside him and murmurs in his ear that she hates pigs who can't clean properly and canaries that stopped singing. She asks if he thinks he can handle it, and his grip tightens around the blade in his hand before he forces a smile and says he will take care of it. She turns and walks away, saying she will wait in her room and that he should report to her when he is done. The girl lying on the ground, her lips stained with blood, weakly begs him to end her life, and his hand shakes even more. He raises the blade above her as if ready to strike, but at the last moment he twists it and cuts through the ropes binding her wrists. He carefully lifts her into his arms. She looks up at him with fading strength and asks why, but he quickly hushes her, voice low and urgent, telling her to stay still and pretend she is already dead. Later, he holds her blood-stained clothes while she stands before him, wrapped in a cloak, her figure hidden. He tells her he will keep the clothes and that she should flee where no one will find her. She asks where she could possibly go. He tells her he wrote a letter of introduction to a friend in a neighboring country so she can start a new life. He hands her an envelope. She murmurs that he has done far too much for someone like her, worrying that if Jelly finds out, she will surely kill him. He forces a reassuring smile and says not to worry, confident he can outwit Jelly. She holds his hand in gratitude, whispering thank you repeatedly before finally turning and disappearing into the distance. Later, deep in the forest, he carries her blood-stained clothes and begins digging into the soil, the only sound breaking the silence being the shifting dirt. From a distant window, Jelly watches with a quiet, amused smile, eyes fixed on him the entire time. He lowers the stained dress into the hole as though it were the maid's actual body and slowly covers it with dirt, pausing now and then to secretly glance at the window. He makes sure the gossipy head maid sees the scene as he buries the bloody uniform. Word will soon spread that the maid he saved was buried here. Now he can simply report that the task is complete and his sister's illness will be cured. As he knocks and slowly opens the door, she is already standing there, smiling as if she has been waiting the entire time. She says she expected him and asks if it was difficult. He lets out a small smile and says no, it was surprisingly easy. She tilts her head. Was it? He reminds her of what they discussed. She replies that she must keep her word. She takes out a small bottle and holds it between her fingers before handing it to him. She tells him to give it to his sister. She says she will be cured immediately. His eyes fill with relief. His voice trembles as he thanks her, saying that with this holy water, his sister will finally recover. She suddenly freezes and asks when she ever said it was holy water. He looks confused and asks what else it could be. Her smile turns sweeter. She tells him it is poison. If his sister drinks it, she will be freed from the suffering of this world instantly. His body shudders. His face twists in horror. She bursts into laughter, looking up at him, and says that is the expression she wanted to see. She asks if he really thought he could outsmart her. He stands there, completely despairing. She comments that the expression of someone in despair is oddly the most beautiful thing to witness. Back in the present, Jelly jolts when he asks if she remembers now. Sweat beads along her temples. She avoids his gaze, teeth biting into her lower lip. Inside her mind, she curses the villainous past she inherited. She tugs at her mouth in frustration until her puffed cheeks resemble tiny potatoes. Her eyes drop to the locket again. His sister is sick. That fact presses heavily on her chest. She slowly sinks to a seat, expression turning serious. She says she has a favor to request, if he can overlook what just happened. He asks what she wants. She looks at him quietly and asks if he would trust her one more time. He stares at her, utterly stunned. Hoping against hope, Will allows her to examine Emma, though he wonders if trusting her is wise. First of all, is she even really a saint? On the other hand, Jelly thinks he probably doesn't fully trust her yet. It would be great if she could channel a saint's power, but how could she manage it? Well, at least she has a human body now, so she decides to give it a shot. For now, she raises her hands, focusing as hard as possible, but one eye flicks toward him, gauging his reaction as she realizes she has no idea what she's doing. Fine, she thinks, I'll heal in my own way. She glances at the side table and carefully pulls out the hidden blade. With precise motion, she cuts her finger and lets a thin stream of blood drip into the nearby jug. She picks up the jug, smiling at him, and says she will expel the illness from the body and cleanse the patient's insides with this holy water. He narrows his eyes suspiciously. Holy water? He asks, voice tight. She understands his doubt. He'd been tricked with poison before, so his caution is natural. Well, she thinks it's just water, and she can't heal him unless he trusts her, right? He flinches as she lifts the jug and drinks from it. A soft, sweet smile spreads across her lips. Now he can see, she says. Would he like to try it too? He shakes his head. Her focus returns to the fainted girl. She carefully administers water, observing every inch of the human body. She can already tell where the illness lies. It's tricky with her split form, so she devises a new plan. She asks him for a favor. Could he fetch some water? She needs to cool the girl's fever. He nods quickly and disappears. She murmurs a quiet apology to the girl. Don't worry, she thinks. I'll make sure you're properly healed later. Her own body will handle it directly. He returns quickly with a bucket of water and wet cloth. He places it on the girl's forehead, hesitating. What should he do? He asks nervously. She stays calm. Take her hand, she says. Pray that her illness will be cured. She will feel better. He grabs the girl's hand, voice shaking, calling her name, a mixture of fear and hope. He realizes Lady Jelly is genuinely trying to heal Emma. Twice he tried to kill her, and now seeing this, he swears to atone for his sins forever. Outside, the cat goes full ninja mode, lunging at birds that were chilling as if nothing happened. Chaos erupts. Birds flap and squawk in every direction. The window bursts open like an action movie portal, and suddenly they're all flying in. Jelly freezes, blinking. What the heck? The sudden noise and light snap will out of his thoughts. He frowns. Really? But then his jaw drops. Sunlight hits Jelly, the birds swirling around her as if she's in an anime transformation sequence. She looks like a saint glowing amidst feathered chaos. To complete the scene, Emma slowly opens one eye and calls for her brother. One tear rolls down Will's cheek as he stares at his sister. He suddenly hugs her, quiet sobs of relief escaping. Jelly stands nearby, calm as ever, a tiny bird perched on her head, watching the scene like it's perfectly normal. Emma asks who the girl is. Will straightens and says this is Lady Jelly, a saint he serves, who took time from her schedule to heal his sister. Emma's eyes widen, mouth dropping open, clearly impressed by such an honorable presence. Jelly smiles softly and asks how she feels now. Emma blinks, surprised. It's not hard to breathe, she murmurs. Will starts crying again, sniffling and thanking her over and over. Jelly feels a tiny spark of relief. She managed to fix everything without him realizing she's a monster. Finally, she can enjoy life as a human, well, mostly. Then her thoughts leap to last night. She sent him flying, didn't she? What if he guessed her true identity? Will mentions last night, asking if the power she used to stop him before committing another crime was really a saint's power. Jelly freezes inside, panic bubbling like soda, but forces a quick, bright smile. She says yes, it was a saint's power, and it's a secret. Will she promise not to tell anyone? He admits he already figured it out. Jelly nods and says it's fine, but warns him that if she ever does something weird again, he better stop her. Will looks at her, tears glinting, astonishment plastered on his face. He thinks she truly is a saint. Looking back, all of Lady Jelly's past behavior now seems just plain bizarre. He's certain she must have been demon-possessed before, and now the saint's straining purified her. She is her true self. If only he knew the truth, the opposite is closer to reality. Will drops to his knees in front of her and takes her hand, swearing complete devotion. Jelly panics. She had only meant a simple handshake. Humans are ridiculously complicated. Meanwhile, a maid informs a girl sitting under a tree that Jelly has supposedly reformed. The girl slowly closes her book, eyes narrowing suspiciously. She mutters that no saint changes without a reason and steels herself, thinking she, Saint Celestria, must investigate exactly what Jelly is plotting. Jelly couldn't use the saint's power when healing Emma, but now she has a saint's body, so she should be able to. She's been studying it all morning, but it's so complicated she doesn't even know where to start. Her gaze drifts to the picture book, where the saint in the illustration extends only her hand. The maid brings tea and says she thought Jelly could use a small break. Her eyes land on the sandwiches. Erin mentions it's also lunchtime and that she should enjoy the light meal with the tea. Jelly leans closer, eyes wide, and asks what these are. Erin tells her they're sandwiches. Jelly's excitement skyrockets. She realizes salad and meat are layered between thin slices of bread. bread, something she can hold in one hand while reading. She takes a bite, chewing slowly, letting the flavors mingle. She freezes. The taste is astonishing. It feels like she's discovered a tiny slice of heaven. Humans really come up with bizarre but brilliant ideas. As she eats, Erin accidentally splashes some tea on her hand. Jelly immediately asks if she's alright. Erin says it's nothing and she'll remake it, but Jelly is more concerned about the burn. She gently takes Erin's hand and does something to ease the pain. Erin looks surprised as the pain seems to fade. She appreciates it, thinking this must be a miracle of Jelly's power as a saint. Jelly quietly tells her she's far too kind. At that moment, Will knocks and enters. Jelly greets him quickly and asks about his sister. Will says she's fully recovered and practicing walking slowly, adding that it's all thanks to her saintly power. Jelly internally thinks, or more accurately, her slime power. She shakes her head and tells him it's nothing to worry about and that it's really her fault if he dwells on it. Will looks at Erin and asks what happened. Erin explains her hand got a little burned and Lady Jelly healed it with her power. Will blinks in disbelief. Did she really use her power? He glances at Jelly's hands, frowning, thinking it's just his imagination. He tells her she hasn't shown her true power yet. Erin's eyebrows shoot up like fireworks, ready to explode. Jelly panics, sweat beading her temples. Erin insists it felt healed. Will tilts his head, unimpressed, reminding her she only said it felt healed, not that it actually was. Jelly thinks she's almost there, almost ready to use the power, but she might have gotten the wrong idea. Even Will treats the saint's power like common knowledge. That she doesn't know about it makes her seem suspicious. There and then, Jelly decides she will ask Will directly. Will raises an eyebrow, suspicious, asking if she used her power just now. Jelly taps him lightly on the shoulder, shaking her head, thinking he's unusually perceptive. Will adjusts his glasses, a little proud, but still puzzled that Erin doesn't know about the saint's power, even though she's her maid. Jelly plays it smart. Erin's still new here, so naturally she wouldn't know. Jelly figures this is the perfect moment to give her a simple rundown. Will nods, looking honored and a bit impressed, and says absolutely, he'll take the chance. Saints are those who keep this country from falling into chaos. She begins, voice calm but with a hint of dramatic flair. They don't just patch up injuries that doctors throw their hands up at or track down the sneakiest infections. They also maintain barriers to keep monsters out of towns. And sometimes they get drafted into medical squads during major wars. Basically, a saint's power is the ultimate country-protecting Swiss Army knife. She nods to herself. Exactly. That's the kind of hero she wants to be now. Using her slime abilities, she can mimic some of the saint's powers. Everyone will finally stop hating her if she behaves like a proper saint. Safer living, fewer angry villagers. Though if she overuses her slime abilities, her true identity might spill. Crowds are risky. She just has to learn to wield saintly powers carefully. Curing Emma went smoothly, but there's no guarantee someone won't notice next time. And she can't predict who might try to kill her at any moment. Will tells Erin to head to the doctor's office, and she scurries off like a cat avoiding a bath. Jelly thinks for a second. He mentioned Emma would be saved if he completed the request, but would he even tell her who the client was? He jolts, then says, frankly, it's a man in a black hole. That's all I know. Jelly raises an eyebrow. Why trust a man in a black hole? He replies, I lost my composure watching Emma get weaker day by day, and he revived a tiny dead bird right in front of me. That was the tipping point. I trusted him without thinking. Jelly lets out a quiet sigh, thinking that previous Jelly had far more enemies than she imagined. Is there anyone she can even talk to about this mess? Suddenly Will says, oh, right. He hands her a letter. This is for you. She wonders who sent it. Saint Celestria, he answers. Of course, she remembers that child. She opens the letter and reads aloud. It's an invitation to a tea party. Will looks flabbergasted. A tea party hosted by Lady Celestria? Jelly grins, thinking Celestria must know her saint powers if she's truly the same saint. Surely, she'll teach her properly if they get along. Will asks what she wants to do. Go, of course, Jelly says, practically bouncing with excitement. He's even more flabbergasted. On her way through the garage, Jelly thinks it's nice not to have to use her own feet to travel. Being a noble is surprisingly convenient. But then she recalls Will's flabbergasted face and wonders why he reacted so dramatically. She asks him why he's coming along. For your safety, of course, he replies. I won't ignore my own shortcomings, but with people after you, traveling alone to a distant place is risky. I'll protect you, even if it costs my life. Jelly frowns. If that's the case, she cannot allow him to accompany her. Emma would never forgive her if anything happened. Plus, staying too close might blow her secrets. She starts munching on sandwiches and says, by no means did I let you come just for the sandwiches. He nods, unsurprised. The previous Jelly was A handful. Saint's reputation may be a bit intimidating, but from what Will says, they're excellent humans. Maybe she can even make friends with them. Jelly can't wait to find out. When they arrive at her mansion, Celestria is already waiting outside. Jelly silently thanks her, thinking, wow, she went out of her way to greet them. Excitement bubbles as Jelly approaches and greets her warmly. Let's have some fun today, she says. Somehow, today feels like it's going to be a good day. They sit in the beautiful garden. Celestria explains she made it herself and welcomes Jelly. Jelly is thrilled. She can feel the sincerity. As the maid serves tea, Jelly glances at it and the lunch, thinking this is a truly thoughtful welcome. What a lovely baked good, she remarks. Celestria narrows her eyes. The maid, shaking slightly, says she appreciates Jelly's kind words and mentions that today they have an apple pie. Jelly realizes her reaction just revealed that she knows about the previous Jelly. Celestria then says, don't hesitate, dig in. Jelly notices that compared to the nervous maid, Celestria exudes confidence. It's as if she's signaling we're equals, and equals equals friends. Excitement surges. Jelly grabs the apple pie, nearly drooling at the fragrant smell. So sinful, she imagines how delicious it must taste. She glances at the fountain in the courtyard, marveling at humans' creativity. But then she freezes under Celestria's intense gaze. Jelly reminds herself that her true identity could slip if she messes up. She forces a smile. This is really delicious, she says. Celestria sips tea but never breaks eye contact. Suddenly, she sharply calls Jelly's name. Stop this terrible acting. Why aren't you showing your true self? Jelly panics, stammering, what do you mean? Celestria crosses her arms, skeptical. Your actions are completely different from before. What in the world are you up to? Jelly breathes a quiet sigh of relief. She's talking about her mannerisms, not her true identity. Thanks to the Saint's training, she's managed to keep her cover. Even though she wants to befriend Celestria, it's clear things won't be easy. Celestria leans forward, curiosity written all over her face. I heard you cured an illness using the Saint's power. Is that true? Hard to believe. Jelly asks, are you talking about Emma? Celestria doesn't believe it. Fabricating a story that will be exposed immediately is pointless. Jelly faintly smiles at Will, noting that since he's her precious butler's brother, he probably already saw the miracle. Celestria turns sharply to him. Is that true? He meets her gaze steadily. Yes, her fists clench. A mix of disbelief and anger floods her expression. She can't believe it. Jelly, the same girl who once laughed scornfully no matter how many times Celestria told her to act like a saint, has reformed because of the Saint's training? Even if that's true, what kind of training could twist her that much? Celestria leans in, pressing Jelly for details. Does anything unusual happen during the Saint's training? She asks, voice sharp. Jelly replies matter-of-factly, a wonderful goddess shares all sorts of teachings with me. Thinking of the slime as the goddess, Celestria flinches and snaps. I don't want to hear that. Jelly has a revelation. The sharpness in her voice makes Jelly recoil just slightly. I think so, Jelly says hesitantly. The training reforms past deeds and encourages service to humans. Celestria narrows her eyes, barely restraining her fury. Does the goddess give you those words directly? Jelly recoils again, confused. Did she say something wrong? Celestria adds quickly, voice calmer but still firm. A revelation marks the bearer to guide all saints and endure tremendous trials, consecrated by the goddess as a beacon for the people. Panic spreads across Jelly's face. She realizes she can't back out now. Celestria wobbles slightly in her seat, dazed. I need a moment, she mutters, stepping out. Then softer, she says, I want to speak privately afterward. Will that be all right? Before Jelly can respond, Will steps forward. I'll wander around the courtyard. As Celestria walks away, her mind races. Jelly has received a revelation? No way. She prayed every day, gave alms, healed the sick with saint power, and yet the goddess spoke to Jelly of all people. She's practically flaunting it. Could it be a trick to trap her? Otherwise, Jelly receiving a revelation is impossible. She shudders, imagining herself roaring with laughter while watching Jelly shrug in shame. But too bad for her. Jelly's panicking because she ate all the food. A maid brings Jelly flowers, trembling slightly. I picked the very best, she says with a shaky smile. Jelly beams. Thank you, they're beautiful. Celestria returns, apologizing for the delay. Jelly waves it off. It's fine. I got such lovely flowers. Celestria thinks Jelly will soon reveal her true character. Pretend all she wants. If her personality hasn't changed, she still delights in misfortune. Right? Celestria asks about a rumor that the slums might be shrinking. She repeats, slums? Looking annoyed, trying to recall what those were. Concentrations of weak humans? Not all humans are happy. Sadness spreads across her face as she murmurs, that's the news. Celestria flinches. Jelly's expression shows sympathy for the slum dwellers, something she's never seen before. The last time Jelly would have scoffed. Ran out of lab rats? Fine, take the leftovers. Now she looks sad. Quietly, Jelly asks what will happen to the humans in the slums. Celestria answers, most would likely be discarded. The words hit Jelly like a memory. She remembers being expelled from her own habitat. Her face crumbles, revealing childlike vulnerability, tugging at her lip. They don't have to go that far, she whispers. Celestria is stunned. Jelly genuinely weeps for the weak. She tells her to relax. It's just a rumor. Jelly sniffs, tears in her eyes. Are you sure? Celestria nods, still puzzled. Even if it were an act, Jelly would never have reacted like this before. She would have laughed cruelly. Shifting the topic, Celestria admits her surprise that Jelly chose to come to tea, assuming she disliked her. Jelly thinks that explains Will's odd behavior. She smiles faintly. It was so long ago she can barely remember it. Now she considers Celestria an equal friend. Celestria sips tea nervously, eyes full of doubt. The maid steps forward, asking if she wants more tea. The caterpillar crawls across the flowers. The guest jumps, panicking, knocking flowers and sending a cup flying. The kettle tilts dangerously towards Celestria. Jelly reacts instantly, hugging the flailing guest, taking the full splash of hot tea onto herself. Celestria freezes, exclaiming, "It's spilled all over you," and scolds the maid. Jelly smiles softly, gesturing for Celestria not to be angry. It's nothing, just a surprise from a caterpillar. Humans are drawn to beautiful flowers. This little one will one day become a butterfly and flutter away. Even slums might one day produce wonderful meals or games, just like caterpillars become butterflies. She stands behind her, the angel statue catching sunlight, and in that moment she looks every bit the saint, radiant, commanding, declaring her belief in human potential. Celestria grits her teeth, awe and anger swirling across her face. She pulls over a chair. Sit. Celestria spreads her hands, and a soft, shimmering glow flows from her fingertips, enveloping the burnt flesh of Jelly's arm. Jelly freezes, eyes wide. So, this is what the saint's power looks like. Jelly stares, jaw practically hitting the floor, as the burn smooths away like it never existed. Celestria mutters a soft apology, barely audible, but Jelly shakes her head. No need to apologize. Jelly then pipes up, bright-eyed. Will you be my long-term friend? Celestria's cheeks heat up. Depends on you from now on, she snaps. Keep behaving like a saint, and maybe I'll consider it. Jelly beams, full of confidence. I promise I will. Just then, Will pops in, announcing that the carriage is ready. Jelly ruffles her hair, grinning, time to go. Thanks for today. Celestria narrows her eyes, and once settled in the carriage, she can't help but shout, blushing furiously, do not treat me like a child. As the carriage rolls onward, Jelly recalls the apple pie. Celestria hadn't even been mad, she devoured it all. She really is nice, Celestria thinks quietly, a small smile tugging at her lip. Jelly experiments with her saint's power on a flower. It glows faintly as she lifts it. Not perfect, but it's enough for now. At least she can avoid revealing she's a monster. A knock on the door interrupts her. Will enters. Jelly perks up. You always appear at the perfect moment. She gestures at her messy table. Take a look at my plan. Will glances around at the scattered papers. Sighing, he apologizes. I never realized you hated paperwork this much. Jelly frowns. That's not what she wanted him to notice. She starts making cute faces, blinking innocently, trying to redirect his attention. Will just raises an eyebrow. All I see is that you're more active now. Jelly thinks he's right. This body is much easier to move than before. He adds, I'm glad you're lively, but I have a report to give. Jelly's ears perk up at the mention of food. She crunches cookies as he explains. A messenger from the church came requesting her presence at the orphanage. It's a public duty, but he asks what she wants to do. Mouth full, she says, I'll go. Perfect opportunity to learn more about saints. Will warns her. The orphanage is in a particularly poor part of the slums. She always has the option to refuse. Jelly notes, this is the same slum Celestria mentioned. I want to see for myself, she insists. Will bows. I will accompany you to the entrance. The carriage moves through the slums. Will cautions her, life here is not valued as in the upper world. Stay alert. Jelly glances out the window, lips pursed. A noble carriage feels out of place. Suddenly, Will calls her back. It's dangerous. Someone could be lurking. The carriage stops. Will helps her down. A looming building stands before her. She hesitates. This is the orphanage? Will excuses himself and leaves. Jelly gulps but reassures herself. She can use her saint's power, even a little. A nun approaches. She thanks Jelly for her efforts and explains it's a rare honor to have two saints visiting today. Jelly blinks. Two saints? The nun nods toward the yard. Celestria is playing with the children. Jelly calls out in shock. Celestria turns equally surprised. Jelly asks why she's here. The church requested her presence. Celestria narrows her eyes. Not what I mean. She notes Jelly always avoided public duties until now. I'll leave the rest to you, Celestria declares, flapping her arms like an angry chicken. Jelly yanks Celestria's neckband. Wait, Celestria mutters. Red-faced, Jelly You're impossible. She adds she'll watch closely and learn from Jelly's methods. Jelly grins and ruffles her hair. Celestria immediately slaps her hand away. Do not pat me like that. She crosses her arms, complaining about the church sending messengers even though she said she'd come alone. If I see that messenger again, they'll regret it. A little child tugs on Jelly's dress. Jelly kneels, smiling gently. I'm Jelly, a friend of Celestria. Celestria cuts in. She's a saint like me, but not friends. Jelly blinks. Not friends? Celestria lifts her chin, prideful. I have a long career as a saint. The child points out innocently that Celestria is smaller. Celestria flinches. I'm still growing, she stammers. Soon, I'll be as tall as Jelly. In fact, 10 times taller. Jelly imagines it. 10 times taller Celestria. Among her slimes, she'd always wondered how far they could grow, split, or mimic. Maybe Celestria worries about being short. Her whole face turns red. She snaps defensively. Is that a bad thing? Another child chimes in. You can't grow big without eating a lot. He drops a snack into her hand. Celestria stares, dumbfounded. Jelly watches warmly. Truly a saint, she thinks. Good with kids. But then Jelly notices something. The children aren't really having fun. Neutral faces, some sad. No one is smiling genuinely. She calls out, tell me, what's the most fun you've ever had? Celestria flinches, whispering sharply, do not ask that. This is an orphanage, far removed from the luxuries of her noble life. These children have lost parents to war, sickness, and endless misfortune. Every day is a struggle, filled with chores just to survive. Fun barely exists here. Jelly freezes. Memories of her own abandoned past flash before her eyes. Cast out, alone. She knows these children are just like she once was before becoming human. One small voice timidly asks what fun even means. Jelly crouches, soft and gentle. Instead of explaining, let's experience it together. Suddenly, she shouts, tag, you're it. The courtyard erupts with running feet and laughter. Jelly chases them, scooping up one child after another. Bright smiles finally spread across the children's faces. Laughter bounces through the area. A nun wipes a tear, murmuring that the children seem happier than usual, thanks to the saints. Celestria stands off to the side, arms crossed, frowning. Jelly is actually enjoying herself, she mutters. After a while, the nun brings out snacks, apologizing in a shaky voice in case the children don't like them. Celestria smiles. Give them to the kids. There are plenty. The children gather, joyful. Jelly's eyes sparkle as she reaches for a snack, excitement written all over her face. But Celestria pulls her back. She watches a child take a bite and asks, how is it? The child beams. So yummy. Then suddenly the child goes limp. He collapses. Jelly jolts in shock. She rushes forward. The boy clutches his stomach. It hurts, he cries. Other children start collapsing too, groaning in pain. The nun trembles. What is happening? Jelly grabs one of the biscuits and stares at it. Then, without hesitation, pops it in her mouth. Celestria freezes. Jelly thinks, if it's poison, it must be slow acting. Hard to tell. If this continues, it could be a disaster. Celestria calls to her. Jelly freezes. Human poison doesn't work on her the same way. Quickly, she acts sick, staggering slightly. See, Celestria, save the children before me. Inside, her mind races. She was this close to being revealed as a monster. Celestria kneels beside a crying child. Jelly lifts another into her arms. Don't worry, you'll be fine, she whispers. She focuses, summoning the power from her training. A gentle glow spreads from her hands. Celestria watches. The saint's power is real. She still cannot fully accept it, but one thing becomes clear. Jelly's words about changing, about reforming, weren't lies. Gradually, the children recover. The nun bows deeply, gratitude shining in her voice. Celestria lowers her gaze, heavy with guilt. It's my fault. If only I hadn't given them sweets. Jelly pats her head. Don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. Celestria snaps. Do not treat me like a child. Jelly ignores it and turns to the boy. Pain gone. He grins. Yes. Then, excitedly, he runs to a tree, climbs up, and stands proudly on a branch. A bird bursts from the leaves, startling him. He falls. Jelly reacts before she even realizes. She dashes at superhuman speed. Celestria stares, jaw dropped. Even Jelly wonders, how did I move that fast? She catches the boy just in time, but momentum sends her stumbling. She crashes hard. Celestria rushes over, muttering while using her healing power. Pointless if she ends up hurt too. She glares at Jelly. What was that speed? Completely superhuman. Jelly sweats. Oh no, what excuse now? Surely the goddess granted me that power, she says, forcing a bright smile. Sorry for the scare. Celestria narrows her eyes but lets it go. More importantly, We need to clarify something. She turns to the nun. Did you prepare the sweets? The nun panics. I received them from the church, sent especially for the saints. Celestia asks about the messenger's face. The nun shakes her head nervously. She swears she did nothing wrong. Jelly reassures her she doesn't suspect her. If the nun poisoned them, the culprit would be obvious. Celestia turns to Jelly. Was the messenger who sent you truly from the church? Jelly freezes. A quiet realization. They were targeted from the start. Celestia says it's too early to jump to conclusions. She asks if Jelly has done anything to earn someone's hatred. Jelly thinks. Too many possibilities. She pales. Celestia advises caution. Knowing Jelly's past, she cannot imagine anyone else as the target. If a saint were in danger, it would be her. Jelly smiles softly. Thank you for worrying. Celestria's cheeks pinken. She looks away. I'm not worried. It would just be more trouble for me if something happened to you. Jelly laughs lightly. I'll be careful not to make more work for you. They exchange a brief handshake. Jelly announces she'll dispose of the poison sweets properly. High above, on a rooftop, a cloaked figure watches silently. A bird lands on his hand. They failed again, he mutters. Even after making poison that should have been perfect, it did nothing. He clenches his fist. Time is running out. Next time, he will succeed. Later, on the carriage ride back, Will asks how the orphanage went. Jelly smiles calmly. It was enlightening. She decides not to mention nearly getting killed. With a mastermind tricking Will into killing her, she knows it's aimed at her. They'll keep targeting her, but she won't face them head-on. Humans are weak, but intelligent and united. A united front. No one can beat it. That's what the chief said. Even among humans, apparently those who earn the title of hero are remarkable, even when standing alone. The tale of the chief facing a hero sounds straight out of a fairy tale to her. If the person targeting her is a hero, well, she might end up like the chief. Even if she tracks down the culprit, she'll try talking first before ending up chopped in half. As she flips through the book, her attention drifts again and again. Finally, she closes it with a soft sigh. Constant vigilance because someone might try to kill her is painfully boring. A nearby vase rattles suddenly. Jelly jumps, nearly toppling over in shock. A slime stirs lazily and asks if she's startled. She can only nod, staring like she's seen a ghost. Several slimes hop onto her hands, wagging little fingers in mock scolding. You're getting careless, they chirp. Even with all our watches, this won't do. Jelly thinks wryly. More splits, more lectures. Classic slime life. A knock at the door makes her jump again. Aaron enters, carrying sweets to pair with tea. Jelly quickly orders the slimes to hide, lest Aaron notice them. Aaron tilts her head. Are you all right? Jelly shakes her head. Nothing. She redirects the conversation. What sweets did you bring today? Fig pound cake, Aaron replies. Moments ago, she was tense. Now she brightens, eyes sparkling at the treat, and starts munching happily. Aaron's gaze falls on the book. Is that about the barrier device? She asks. She explains that their peaceful life in a monster-filled country is thanks to the saints pouring their power into the barrier device, and adds she's very grateful to Jelly. Jelly shrugs. I'm just doing my saint duties. She pats Aaron's head. Studying hard again? Every day. Aaron beams. So I can help you. Jelly resumes eating, thinking that the barrier device is still a mystery. Maybe it's like using saint power to heal wounds, but if there's a special method, she'd be in big trouble. Asking someone directly would be a lot easier. As she imagines it, her mind spirals dramatically. The staff whisper in horror. She knows nothing of a saint's duty. They slowly turn toward her, wielding kitchen knives, ladles, whatever's at hand. A slime has replaced the real saint. They shout, lunging at her. She shudders, snaps back to reality. No, she has to learn the barrier work, no matter what. But who to ask? Celestia, of course. Best to go to a friend when in trouble, right? She looks at Aaron apologetically. We should visit Celestia. Aaron raises an eyebrow. Have you really gotten that close with Lady Celestia? Jelly nods. Friends, after all. Aaron smiles. Hope she's not out on public duty. Who would even know where she is? At the same moment, they both think of Will and giggle quietly. Aaron volunteers to check, and Jelly instructs her to be stealthy, so Will doesn't notice her plan to leave. He's been extra protective lately, Jelly thinks. While waiting, she wonders if she should bring a small gift. If Celestia teaches her, it would only be right. Soon, they're on their way. The carriage rolls towards South Lake Hall. The lake is vast and beautiful. Aaron hums happily. Jelly listens, quietly fascinated. Humans sing when happy, like birds. She's never heard it so close, and it feels warm and pleasant. Aaron says this is a popular summer retreat, then mentions the barrier device is somewhere unexpected. She glances at Jelly. Since it's her turn for public duty, it makes sense she might be there. Earlier, Aaron had asked Will about Celestia. Confused, he admitted he didn't know for sure. Jelly had blurted out that he probably didn't know, right? Will agreed but thought Celestia might be filling the barrier with her power. He asked why Jelly wanted to know. She said it was nothing. As the carriage continues, Jelly thinks. If she watches Celestia at work, she might finally learn something. Erin peeks out the window. It's getting foggy, she sighs. The lake would be clearer in good weather, but rain has been non-stop. She warns that monsters often appear in thick fog. Jelly forces a nervous smile. That's scary. Jelly forces a nervous smile. That's scary. She wonders if Celestia will be okay if monsters show up. She asks Erin to go faster. Erin shakes her head. Dangerous with visibility this poor. Suddenly, the carriage jerks violently. The coachman apologizes. The horse got spooked by fog. Realizing they cannot go further, Jelly decides to walk. She steps down, handing Erin a piece of cake. Keep this safe. We'll eat it together when we return. Then she instructs Erin to stay inside. It's safer. Without hesitation, Jelly moves ahead alone, leaving the carriage behind. She figures moving alone will make it easier to dodge monsters, even if she bumps into them. Without warning, she sprints down the foggy path. Should be a straight road. How hard can it be? She mutters, though one misstep could send her straight into the lake. And in fog she can't even see. Well, she's pretty sure she'd end up as fish food. Then a figure emerges ahead. For a moment, she thinks it's Celestia. Closer, no, black cloak. Very ominous. Very cliché villain vibe. Meeting you here again. Coincidence, right? The man says. Jelly skids to a stop, unease prickling her slime. Have we met before? She asks. Her gut screams no. Never face to face, he replies coolly. Though I know you one-sidedly. Public figure and all that. A memory stirs. Back in the forest, humans had ambushed her. This aura, the same. Spine tingling. Predator vibes. He's a hunter. She stiffens as he casually remarks. My plan was ruined because you survived the forest. The poison. Her mind flashes. If he knows, then he's been targeting her all along. Did you trick Will into poisoning me? She asks. Eyes sharp. Indeed, he says, calm as ever. Poison should have been enough. Heard you weren't much of a healer, but the orphanage incident proved him wrong. Her body tenses. You poisoned the sweets too? He nods. A special ingredient? Useless on her. For a brief moment, she remembers the taste and nearly drools. They weren't bad, she admits, almost thanking him. He mutters, good at sarcasm too. Why are you after me? Revenge. Revenge? Please, I'm not that petty. He steps forward. She instinctively staggers. His glare pierces her. Something cracks inside. Next second, he's at her side, whispering, you look unwell. Bad dream. And don't worry, he adds casually, not chasing you today. Her thoughts spiral. If she lets him go now, he could strike later. Could she stop him in her current form? Fighting humans is a last resort. He said no revenge. Past Jelly must have known something. She digs into her memory. Nothing. Blank. Not a single past Jelly memory surfaces. He steps back. Everything's proceeding as planned, just as that person wants. My goal achieved. I'll leave today. She reaches out, but he warns, if you value what's precious, stay out of this. Then he vanishes into the fog. Jelly exhales shakily. What just happened? Why here? Why now? He said he wasn't after her and already achieved his goal. The lake, the barrier, Celestia. She freezes. Past Jelly made countless enemies, sure, but the sweets at the orphanage aimed only at her? Unlikely. Lightning strikes in her mind. He's not targeting her alone. He's after saints. This is bad. Celestria's in danger. She spins, fog thick, directions meaningless. Then a faint glow. The caterpillar transforms into a radiant butterfly, wings shimmering. Her eyes widen. This is perfect for Celestia. She follows, heart pounding. The butterfly lands gently on someone's forehead. Celestia, on the ground, blood trickling, unconscious. Jelly rushes, scooping her up. Are you okay? Celestia murmurs weakly, goddess, before fainting fully. Relief washes over Jelly. Alive, just fainted. But then her senses sharpen. Pairs of glowing eyes appear in the mist. Wolves. One by one, they encircle her and Celestia, growling low and hostile. So this is why Celestia, she bites her thumb. Multiple slimes split instantly. Protect Celestia while I heal her. Not a scratch more. She rises, fury blazing. Undisciplined mutts. How dare you touch my friend? Her finger points at them, trembling with anger. Soft Jelly? Gone. Voice cold. Dangerous. Time for punishment. Celestia pushes herself up, trembling. Monsters here. She glances at the barrier. Still active, humming powerfully. A wolf lunges, crashes into the invisible wall, yelps, then growls. She warns it, saint barriers aren't toys. But the wolf only growls louder. Her gaze drifts to the lake. The water stirs. A massive fish with jagged teeth surfaces. She can't swim. The only way back is straight. She doubts she can escape. Legs trembling, she slaps her own cheek hard. I'm a saint. Saints protect peace, not shake and wait for death. She lifts her staff, swinging at the nearest wolf mid-leap. Strike lands. Wolf yelps, then growls angrier. Come at me! she shouts. I'll take down as many as I can. Life's doomed anyway. Another wolf lunges. Jelly spots it and braces herself. Then wham! Something crashes into her like a sack of bricks. She's sent flying, slamming into the barrier device. Pain explodes at the back of her head, stars spinning across her vision. The wolves start circling like they're auditioning for a horror movie. As darkness creeps in, a fleeting thought sneaks past her fading consciousness. Am I really a worthy saint? She endured all that training alone. Always believed she'd stand solo till the end. Then Jelly's face flashes in her mind. Would she cry for her? A glowing presence stands ahead, so bright it's basically don't look directly at this or you'll go blind levels. In a daze, she whispers, "Goddess," and darkness swallows her again. Meanwhile, Jelly's fury snaps into gear. Time for punishment. A wolf lunges. Jelly casually slaps it across the face. The wolf stumbles back, offended like someone just spoiled its favorite drama. Another charges. Same treatment. Then, blur mode activated. She moves with inhuman speed, grabbing every wolf and hurling them toward the lake. The massive fish leaps from the water, jaws wide. Even the wolves pause midair in horror. The few that barely escape scramble back, fur shredded, looking like they lost a fight with a blender. Jelly mutters, "Your fault first," grabs them by their tails, and flings them into the water. Splash. Fish snack achieved. Her eyes narrow. That lake monster? Definitely his doing too. Fine. She'll deal with that oversized snack next. The leg monster? Same logic. She'll knock it out of the water in no time. The man was scary, sure, but these monsters? Maybe it's because she finally gets this body. For the first time, she feels unstoppable. Slimes call out, "You're healed. Hurry or you'll never uncover the truth." She whispers thanks. Looking at Celestria, she checks her forehead. Bleeding stopped. She's looking better. Quiet relief. Carefully, Jelly hoists Celestria onto her back and starts walking. Celestria stirs weakly, mumbling about the chaos making no sense. Still, she insists, "Back first." Eyes opening slowly. Fully awake, she jerks back in panic. "Why am I here? What about the monsters?" Jelly freezes, mind scrambling. Quick story. Butterfly? Yes, a glowing butterfly. I followed it and found you. Monsters got spooked by the light, fell in the lake. Celestria huffs, unconvinced. Really? Jelly blinks innocently, eyes sparkling. "Look, do these look like liar eyes?" Celestria mutters, "Whatever," but inside, she thinks she saw the butterfly too. Messenger of the goddess vibes. Jelly smiles, wanted to show it to her as a present. Friends, right? Then a figure moves through the fog. Jelly brightens. Aaron. But no, angry will emerges. She nearly jumps out of her slime form, clears throat. Lady Celestria looks fatigued. "I'll ask details later. Where's your carriage?" Celestria weakly, "A bit far. Fog wasn't this bad earlier." Will looks at Jelly. "Escort her." Jelly panics. "Yes, of course." He glances at Aaron. Nervous. "Go prepare tea. I'll handle the rest." Aaron nods, trembling. "Understood." Will adds calmly, "You can bake some cake too." Jelly's face lights up. Aaron heads off. Jelly cheers quietly. Celestria mutters under her breath, "She's really changed." Kids crowd the nun. "Is it ready yet?" Smiles all around. She pulls out fresh cookies. Gasp. Delight. Jelly's eyes sparkle too. Director says, "Dig in." Every time Jelly inspects, she even brings ingredients for treats. Truly grateful. Jelly? Casual shrug. "No big deal, really." She thinks, director always makes the snacks amazing when Jelly brings ingredients. Unlimited cookies? Jackpot. Thought drifts. That man at the orphanage, chaos Celestria almost killed. Rage bubbles. Cannot forgive him. If he wanted Jelly only, fine, but he's after saints. Push it aside for now. Later, she'll figure it out. Director gently tells kids there's plenty more. They cheer. Jelly munches happily. Snack plus tag with kids equals paradise. Celestria approaches. Jelly lights up. There she is. Celestria quietly surprised. Kids really attached to Jelly. Full of surprises lately. Jelly, join us. Celestria, would love to, but urgent call from church. Jelly pats her head. Unfortunate. Celestria grabs her. You're coming too. Saints stick together. Walking, Jelly asks what the urgent call is. Celestria, monsters near the lake barrier. Details at church. They reach the church. Jelly freezes, staring up. Massive like a mountain. Girl at entrance. Smiles politely. Jelly thinks, Saint, make a good impression. Girl looks away. Past Jelly issues? Inside, saints line up. High priest thanks them. Announces reason. Monsters breached the Fogsea Lake barrier. Lady Celestria was attacked. Murmurs. Silence. He asks Celestria if she's okay. She, yes, if Jelly hadn't arrived, might not be standing. Other saints glance at Jelly, eyes narrowing. Skeptical. Jelly quickly digs into her bag and starts munching cookies like the world hasn't just turned into chaos. The girl stares at her as if she just saw a cat reciting Shakespeare. Jelly thinks to herself, Celestria must have misread the situation. There's no way I'd save anyone, except maybe for cookie emergencies. The high priestess continues, explaining that they investigated the lake right after the report. No monsters, nothing unusual. The girl suggests perhaps something bigger than their control is at play. The high priest nods solemnly. Either way, this is serious, and action is needed fast. Jelly quietly thinks that if someone is after saints, that girl might be in danger too. She wonders again about her connection with the previous Jelly. No matter how hard she racks her brain, the memories refuse to surface. Suddenly, Jelly lunges forward, loudly declaring, "This is super serious, you guys." The high priest blinks in surprise at her outburst, but then Jelly glances at the cookies she accidentally squashed in her hand and bursts into melodramatic tears over them instead. The high priest clears his throat and says it might not be wise for her to go alone. Maybe the other girl should come along. The girl frowns, muttering under her breath. "Why me?" He asks if she said something. She quickly dons a polite smile. "Nothing, just busy preventing crop epidemics in the farmlands," she explains. The high priest reminds her that only saints can fill the barrier with holy power. She nods, adding that His Majesty is also concerned about the crops. She apologizes for the trouble and suggests the remaining two handle the barrier instead. The high priest notes that Celestria already used up her power earlier and needs rest. The girl mutters curses under her breath, annoyed but quickly forces a smile. She says, "Well, if neither Lady Celestria nor I can go, Lady Jelly, it seems you're the only hero left." She eyes Jelly knowingly. Jelly blinks, cookies forgotten, now fully focused on her. Jelly thinks, Celestria resting and handling another task, both safer than heading to the barrier. The mysterious man will probably go after her. If she tackles the barrier alone, next encounter? Boom. Him again. She raises her hand slowly. "High priest, I'll take it on." The high priest stares, baffled. "Alone?" Jelly nods. "Yes, the others have duties. I'll manage myself." The high priest studies her, torn. Sure, help on the surface, but rumors of this saint linger. Stories of cruel experiments on the weak, turning down every request until now. Why suddenly volunteer? Her gaze unsettles him. It's the focus of a full-fledged hunter. One misstep and the whole kingdom might collapse. He clears his throat. Still safer to go with someone. Jelly, calm as ever, "I'll be fine." Before he can argue, Celestria steps up. If Jelly herself says she can, I trust her to handle the barrier independently. The high priest blinks. Expected more caution. Why say that? Celestria hesitates, then shrugs. Unbelievable, but Jelly has had a revelation. Silence blankets the room. High priest, a revelation? How? Celestria. Since then, Jelly's behavior has completely changed. Even I was shocked witnessing it. Off to the side, and grits her teeth in annoyance. High priest exhales slowly. If true, national celebration warranted. What kind of revelation? Jelly, repent for past deeds and serve the people sincerely. Perfect. Finally, maybe she can live a peaceful human life. The high priest remembers rumors of her past misdeeds. Hard to believe. Goddess appointed her guide of all saints. Clearly, she's got the chops. Finally, you may investigate the barrier alone. Suddenly, Eng interjects. Wait, can one person even handle that? I should lend a hand. She wonders why Jelly is so willing. Should have been her reluctantly taking the dangerous job. Even with a revelation, standing out like that is risky. High priest, wasn't she busy with the crops? Eng, yes, you're correct. He then tells Jelly monsters might attack again, so he'll assign guards. Jelly imagines it. Guards lined up, staring as she casually hurls monsters into the sky, whispering among themselves, "No saint could do that. Wait, she's not even a saint. She's a slime." Jelly pales. Before anyone reacts further, she blurts, "I don't need guards. I am my own guard," almost shouting, "I'm heading to the barrier now," and dashes off. Celestria sprints after her. By the time she catches up, they're already walking through the garden. Celestria, filling the barrier takes serious effort. Why not take it easy with Ange? Jelly smiles. "Thanks for caring, but I've got this." Smooth as cake. Suddenly, someone calls her name. Ange dashes over. "Going alone?" Jelly, "Yes." Ange frowns. "If you do, you'll stand out. Dangerous." Jelly freezes, acknowledging the truth. Too much attention, and her secret might slip. But at the same time, the mysterious man probably wouldn't make a move unless she went solo. She grins and thinks they should just do what each of them can handle on their own. Ange's eyes narrow. To her, Jelly's words sound like, "I don't need your help. Thank you very much." She clenches her fists, thinking Jelly has been delightfully terrible from the start. Meanwhile, Jelly is thinking exactly the opposite. "I must have made a smashing impression this time." Celestria still looks worried, but Jelly waves it off, saying there's nothing to fret about. Then, trying to lighten the mood, she says that when she comes back, they should have cookies together. With that, they start walking. Behind them, Ange stays frozen, simmering quietly. She thinks Celestria must have spoken too quickly about Jelly having a revelation. After all, nothing's really changed. Jelly is still the kind of girl who can hurt others and giggle while doing it. A mischievous trickster, a liar, someone who deserves maybe a playful punishment. On the other side, Jelly's own face drains of color. Wait, I have no idea how to actually fill the barrier with magic. Later, As she delves deeper into the mountains, she thinks how surprisingly tricky it was to convince Will and Aaron, yet somehow she still set off alone. After trekking for a while, she sits down to rest, deciding to have her second breakfast. It's still a few hours before noon anyway. Opening her food box, she wonders again what she's supposed to do. She still has no clue how to fill barriers with magic. She had asked Eng before leaving, and at first, Eng had said she already knew how. But after a pause, Eng offered to explain everything from scratch. Start at the Griffor barrier, step by step. Remembering this, Jelly smiles faintly. She never realized Eng could be so kind. If things keep going like this, she's a step closer to a peaceful human life. She eats quietly, sharing crumbs with squirrels and pigeons that gather nearby. After a while, she decides it's time to move. To reach the barrier by noon, she'll need patience and save the rest of the food for later. She closes the box as the little animals keep poking at it, calling them tiny food thieves and scolding that they've eaten more than half the sandwiches already. As she stands, a strange unease settles in her chest. She hopes nothing happens, but can't shake the feeling that he might be watching from somewhere. With other saints in town, he might come after her, maybe even using monsters like he did with Celestria. She swings the bag lightly, ready for anything, but the strap suddenly slips. The bag flies through the air and lands straight on someone sitting between the rocks. Startled, she goes into a defensive stance. Must be a monster, right? But it's a man. He groans. What the heck did you put in that thing to make it hit so hard? Before she can react, he shouts, and several men rush her with weapons drawn. They surround her, restraining her while she thinks frantically. They don't seem too tough, but Jelly doesn't want to hurt humans. Even before mastering this body, she'd accidentally sent Wolf flying. Fighting seriously now could be a complete disaster. But if they're the mysterious man's henchmen, that's really bad. She snaps out of her thoughts, realizing she's tightly bound in ropes. She must have been too relaxed. One of the men leans in, saying she's just like the rumors described. Jelly blinks, distracted much. He warns her, make a sound, and things get unpleasant. Yet, looking closer, these guys don't seem like professional henchmen. Too chaotic, too loud, more like kids playing knights. Jelly bursts out laughing. The men freeze. The leader snaps at them. Hurry, get the young lady away. Jelly decides to watch this comedy unfold. The man looks down at her. Don't resist. We'll let you go when done. Jelly asks innocently, by noon. He smirks. Depends on your luck. That relaxes her. If they were really tied to the mysterious man, they wouldn't talk about luck, and they're not eager to personally kill a saint. Probably unrelated. She asks who they are. The man beams, brigands. Not just any brigands. Super greedy ones blinded by money. They assume she's noble and plan to demand ransom. Shouldn't break the bank. Once paid, she's free. Jelly tilts her head innocently. If you want money, why not just get a job instead? The man trembles with rage. That's why I hate nobles. They get it nowhere. Jelly freezes, confused. Why are they mad at her logic? They drag her into a wooden shack, and as one sets her down, her head bumps the floor. He immediately apologizes. Jelly waves it off. He awkwardly warns that struggling too much could lead to more bumps. Jelly blinks. Are these really brigands? The ones she faced in the forest were scarier. The leader calls the others to discuss something in the back room. In a small voice, Jelly asks if they're leaving her alone. The moment they disappear, she calmly stands, bends her arms slightly, and snaps the ropes apart. She feels sorry for them, but the barrier won't wait. Just as she steps out, the men come running from the back room. The leader screams, "Monsters!" Wolves leap at the brigands, forcing them to the ground. The leader swings wildly, yelling for monsters to attack him instead. The boy who warned Jelly about struggling is hurt badly. The leader scoops him up and drags him into a nearby lab, checking frantically. The boy weakly insists everyone else be left behind. The leader clenches his jaw, can't leave the girl either. One man notes Jelly already escaped the mountain hut. The leader exhales. Out of luck. Another asks what to do next. The leader shrugs. Their best shot was to try, though it would probably end in a spectacular fail. Suddenly, the wolves start growling, their fur bristling and eyes wary. The men notice the shift, panic spreading across their faces. The leader demands to know what's going on. Then Jelly strolls into the clearing, arms crossed, letting out an exaggerated sigh. Took the scenic route. Huh? Everyone's paying for this. The men gape, completely dumbfounded. The leader instinctively shouts for her to run, but Jelly scoffs. Run? They told me not to run before, now they want me to? She's determined that they'll regret underestimating her. Survive first, then do as you please, the leader mutters. But for now, Jelly stands firm. A wolf lunges. The men freeze, hearts in their throats. With a casual flick of her back, Jelly sends it crashing into a tree. The men can hardly process it. Oh no, I did that in front of humans. What if they figure out I'm a slime? The other monsters scatter. The men tremble, one one whispering that they were powerless against that. The leader murmurs in disbelief, "Who is this girl?" Jelly walks forward, a sly grin on her face. "I want to have a little chat." The men shake like leaves in a typhoon. One mutters, "No escape." The leader stammers, "We'll tell her everything. Will that spare us?" Jelly smirks, thinking, thank heavens they didn't notice. "Depends on what you say," she replies. Before they can answer, she glows, hands radiating a warm light, healing their wounds in front of them. The leader stammers, clearly flustered. What is this power?" Proudly, Jelly declares, "The power of a saint." They freeze, jaws dropped, staring at her hair, her poise. Then she beams, "Jelly aspic." The men shiver. Stories of her mischief and skill had reached them. The leader steadies himself. "This must be guidance from the goddess," he mutters. He explains they're mountain vigilantes, not brigands. Jelly thinks, exactly as I suspected, not brigands. He continues, "A crop epidemic hit the village this year. Without intervention, winter means famine. Appeals to the ruler went ignored. Seeing a noble on the mountain path alone, they tried a kidnapping. Poor judgment, yes." Jelly shakes her head. "Foolish ruler. Classic." The leader blurts out, "The ruler is the deputy head of the Aspic family." Jelly's jaw drops in a comical, exaggerated way. "Oh no, my fault again? Villagers are going to roast me alive." She quickly clarifies, "Of course I know. I meant the ruler's foolishness." Pulling an apple from her bag, she hands over the rest, saying, "Take it if the villagers need food right away." The leader takes it, astonished. "Enough to feed everyone. You brought all this knowing the situation?" Jelly smiles. "It's yours anyway. Solving problems is a saint's duty." Birds fly over her, squirrels scamper across her legs, sunlight hits just right. She looks like she stepped out of a painting. She ponders, asking Eng about the crop epidemic. If the village thrives, more treats might come their way. She holds the bag tight as the leader tugs. They share an awkward laugh, and he eventually asks, "Want to eat together?" They all sit down, munching apples. After all, sharing snacks is fun. After finishing the apples, Jelly announces she must leave. The leader bows in gratitude. Jelly smiles, thinking eating together really is wonderful. Just as she's about to go, the leader asks why she was on the mountain trail. Jelly blinks, then jolts upright with a horrified scream. She forgot her actual task. Moments later, she rushes toward the barrier device. Thankfully, the vigilantes showed her a shortcut. It would have been faster if they'd come along, but using powers in front of humans risks revealing her identity. And if the mysterious man is cautious, this trip might be pointless. She frowns. Next time, he won't escape. It's eerily quiet. No monsters, no mysterious man. Then she sees a massive glowing structure. So this is the barrier device. She steps carefully and touches it. Everything seems normal until a sharp cracking noise echoes from inside. She jumps back. The magical energy is low. She has to refill it, but using her power now leaves her vulnerable. Plenty of magic remains, she thinks, but if she lowers her guard, the mysterious man could strike. "Anyone there?" she calls. Silence. She summons her slimes, instructing them to search for hidden threats. It would have been easier to ambush her here than to attack Celestria or Ange. So why isn't he here? Why is nothing happening? Did she miss something? Maybe the earlier monsters were sent after her when she escaped the mountain hut. Perhaps the mysterious man assumed she was trapped, sent the wolves too early, and failed without her even noticing. She narrows her eyes, too careless for someone so unpredictable. Sighing, she starts gathering nuts on her way back, happily munching, long overdue. Soon, she's back near the mountain hut, almost at the base. The leader calls out. She turns. "You haven't returned to the village?" He explains he sent the others back first with the food. As for him, he realized he hadn't properly thanked her. He bows deeply, muttering his gratitude for her help. Jelly nods in return, saying she gained a pretty valuable experience today. He admits under his breath that he never wants to pretend to be a brigand again. He mutters that he'll never let the village kids down. Jelly tilts her head. "Something wrong?" He waves quickly. No, just hoping the food reaches all the children." Jelly suddenly realizes she's eaten all the nuts. Only one stubborn little nut remains in her hand. At that moment, a pigeon flutters down, carrying a bunch of shiny red grapes. A squirrel chatters next to her, as if giving thanks for the sandwiches earlier. She hesitates, then nibbles a grape. Safe. Delicious. Her eyes widen. Soon, more pigeons and squirrels arrive, bringing even more grapes. The leader stares, dumbfounded. What is happening?" Jelly replies solemnly, "Goddess's guidance, surely." She adds that the village children will be thrilled to get these. Secretly, she's thinking about bringing some home for Aaron and Will as well. The leader then asks what she plans next. Jelly says she has to pass through the forest after leaving the mountain. He suggests swinging by their village, since it's closer to the forest path, so she can hand the grapes to the children personally. It's only a tiny village, nothing special, he adds. Jelly smiles. Special or not, it doesn't matter. Then she repeats the word, specialty. Her eyes light up. If they grow these red grapes and make it their specialty, everyone will be happy. When the harvest is big, she can have sweets made from them, and she'll remember to send some to these men too. She asks if, once she returns, he can gather people who know about crops. He agrees but asks why. She explains she has a feeling this fruit could save the village, though she isn't quite sure how to grow it perfectly yet. He nods, thinking the villagers would surely welcome the idea. Jelly smiles confidently. Don't worry, it will work. After all, I have a very reliable friend when it comes to crop. When they reach the village, the men who returned earlier are still near the entrance. The moment they see the leader with Jelly, they freeze. He really brought her. Whispers spread instantly. The children grow excited, but the village chief does not share their enthusiasm. The elderly man pales as recognition dawns. Jelly Apic, the infamous troublemaker. If the ruler ignored their tiny village for years, why would someone like her suddenly appear? Of all people, why her? Jelly notices his reaction. Does he know the previous Jelly? Meanwhile, the chief panics inwardly. What if I say something wrong and she experiments on me? Mini heart attack incoming. The leader notices the chief's pale face and reassures him. No worries. She's not as terrible as the rumors claim. The chief bows deeply, apologizing for his hesitation. He introduces himself as the village chief and thanks her sincerely for saving the villagers from the monsters. The leader coughs awkwardly, admitting the chaos started with them, adding that Lady Jelly even shared her food. The chief blinks. He assumed the food came from another saint. He mentions hearing that she investigated the crop disease. Jelly nods. Ah, you mean Ange. The leader offers to guide her to the fields where the crop experts are already working. Just then, children run up, asking if she's leaving. Jelly smiles gently. A friend of mine seems to be in the fields. The children gasp. Can we come? Of course, she replies. The children squeal, hugging each other in excitement. She watches quietly, noting how humans share happiness so openly. Interesting, humans sure do celebrate small joys. Meanwhile, in the fields, Ange inspects the diseased crops. She instructs villagers to cut infected plants to prevent spread. Even if it's by royal decree, why should I handle Jelly's territory too? She thinks, excelling here won't make her shine enough. She needs to be the rising star who saves and leads others. She mutters about the perennial floral ornament, talking nonsense again. Suddenly, Ange lets out a small scream as someone hugs her from behind. Startled, she turns and freezes. Jelly. She expected Jelly to be struggling on the mountain. Why is she here? Jelly casually explains she met some people on the way up the mountain who invited her to the village. The leader steps forward, greeting Ange politely. He frowns as if trying to recall something. Then his eyes light up. She's the one who mentioned a noble might pass through Grifor alone. Ange feigns ignorance, pretending not to remember. The leader grabs her hand suddenly. You saved the village. Ange is dumbfounded. He grows emotional, even tearing up. If Lady Jelly hadn't come, our village would have starved. Ange grits her teeth but quickly masks it. Modestly, she says she did nothing. If it worked out, it must be the goddess's guidance. Jelly, observing, wonders if Ange had subtly informed her about the village earlier. She smiles softly, cheeks pink. Friends are wonderful, but to Ange, that smile seems different. A smug, knowing grin, like Jelly had orchestrated everything. Ange decides to wait. Jelly won't be smiling for long. Calmly, Ange announces she finished investigating the crop disease and will be heading back. The children nearby immediately look anxious. One boy timidly asks if they're going to starve. A little girl whispers whether the crops are ruined for good. Ange hesitates. She crouches and gently tousles the boy's hair. Inside, she thinks she can't stop here. She needs to shine brighter, save more lives. Jelly suddenly speaks up, grinning. Don't worry, kids. Leave everything to Ange and me. We're friends, remember? Ange stiffens at that. Bitterly, she thinks this cheeky, smiling girl has some nerve, deciding things for me. One of the kids offers Ange a grape. She accepts and takes a bite. Immediately, her eyes widen. Is this a rare variety from this region? Tastes exceptional. The soil must be perfect for it. Maybe for wine. Maybe for medicine. The leader tries to speak, but she hushes him with a sharp glance. She's already thinking she must take samples back to the lab for study. The leader explains the fruit is something Lady Jelly received from the goddess. Ange looks again. Impossible. He continues, saying they hoped to cultivate it as the village's specialty. Ange starts to protest, but trails off as she notices everything everyone watching. Their hopeful eyes weigh on her. Maybe I'm the reliable one. Maybe I'm the only one who can save them. She clears her throat and faces Jelly. Is that true? Can I swear on a saint's honor? Jelly nods, secretly planning to keep it a secret that squirrels and birds collected the fruit. Ange solemnly declares, in the name of a saint, that she will successfully cultivate the fruit and take every possible measure against crop disease. The villagers cheer, relieved and excited. Jelly claps happily. Even a strange fruit can grow if everyone works together. She thinks again, humans are truly remarkable. Then Jelly says she has something precious and asks if Ange will accept it. She places the last nut in Ange's hand. For a brief moment, Ange is genuinely moved. She did something thoughtful? But the doubt returns. That grin, it must mean something. She convinces herself Jelly is hiding something and vows revenge someday. Meanwhile, Jelly beams, thinking she's finally getting along with Ange. Walking deeper into the forest, it already feels nostalgic, even though she hasn't been human long. The air carries that familiar scent of leaves and earth. Strange to think the forest she once slithered around as a slime now has a barrier. Soon, she reaches a massive tree wrapped in a faint barrier. She tilts her head. Even though she passed this spot countless times, she never noticed it. She touches it lightly. Still enough magic power. The barrier seems fine. She glances at her body. She's not a slime anymore. No more crawling desperately for food. She jumps slightly, elated. I'm really, truly human. Next up, the mystery man. She senses him somewhere ahead. She spots a small, aged building tucked between the trees. Worn, but strangely beautiful. Could this be Jelly's training place? Pushing the door open, it creaks. She pauses. Is this about to collapse on me? Inside stands a massive statue of a radiant goddess. She gazes up, thinking Celestia, the one Ange always talked about. A whisper calls her name. She spins, but nothing. Only the wind brushes past. Turning back, branches suddenly lunge at her. She freezes. It's the mystery man. He steps forward, smirking. No escape this time. I'll bury you for good. She fires back. Same goes for you. If you want to kill someone, try me first, not my friends. He raises his hand, smirking. Let's see how long that confidence lasts. Thick vines erupt from the ground, twisting and rising high. She stares, mouth agape. What is with this plant horror show? Still, she smiles. Monsters aren't scary. He says normal poison won't touch her, but this vine's venom could knock out a dragon. She blinks. Poison that can defeat a dragon? She thinks, still probably useless on a slime. The vines lash out, binding her arms and legs, slamming her to the ground. The man watches, bored. Took effort, but less satisfying than expected. When she stops struggling, he approaches. She suddenly grabs him, face blank. Weaker than a dragon? Who said that? He panics, yelling at the vines. They lash again, but he's stunned. How can he kill her? Breathing hard, he finally mutters, I get it now. I thought Celestia was chosen, but it's her. She's the true saint. She's been acting up on purpose, so no one suspects. She nods, letting him believe it. Now, the other saints are off his target list. She's the real prize. She smiles quietly. Perfect. Makes catching him much easier. She glares at him. You'll never escape me. Something unsettling in her gaze. He instinctively steps back. I knew it. She's the real threat. I must take her down here. The vines obey his will, surging upward, twisting larger than before. Her jaw drops. What just happened? Why did it suddenly turn this savage? Must be that core in the vines, she thinks. Fine. She'll just snatch it from him in a flash. Wait, something smells sweet. She blinks. What is that scent? Her vision blurs. He grins, twisted and smug. That's the venom vine pollen, a deadly hallucinogen. Soon you'll drift off and never wake. She blinks again and murmurs, meat. He stiffens. To her glazed eyes, he now looks like a gourmet salad topped with fancy steak. He stares, incredulous. Why aren't you dead yet? She sways slightly, still dazed, and grabs him, pulling him closer. Dreamily, she whispers, it's fine. I'll just eat you in one bite. His face pales. It must be the hallucinogen. Has to be. He urgently commands the vines to restrain her again. They lash out, binding her tightly. But to her, it feels different. Like Ange and Celestia are holding her. Celestia gently scolds, not a place to snack, dear. Ange, smiling sweetly, adds, haven't you overworked yourself? Maybe take a nap. She nods obediently. Yes. Maybe just a tiny snooze. Her eyes close. The mystery man observes cautiously. Did it work? He steps closer, checking her breathing. Not dead, just sleeping. So she truly is the saint chosen by the goddess. He never imagined he'd be pushed this far. But it doesn't matter. He draws his sword and plunges it straight into her heart. Her eyes snap open in shock. He laughs. Finally, this will please them. Inside her dream, Jelly calls for Celestia, for Ange. No one answers. Something important is forgotten, but she's too tired to care. Maybe a longer nap will do. Back in the forest, the man looks down at her still body. Finest of the goddesses chosen, he mutters. Disinterested in the empty shell, he leaves the rest to the venom vines and retreats into the forest. Rain begins to fall. A weak butterfly drifts down, slipping gently into her chest. A brilliant light bursts from her heart. The vines recoil violently, crumbling to dust under its force. The glow intensifies, illuminating the distant church in its radiance. Someone calls her name. Jelly gasps awake. Celestria stands over her, arms crossed, frowning, asking what she's doing and how long they've been waiting. She grabs Jelly's hand and hauls her along. We made plenty of food to reward your hard work, even chocolate chip cookies. Her eyes widen at the table, overflowing with food. Her staff stand in line, warmly welcoming her back. Celestria almost scolds. Tried doing the saint's job alone, Ange beside her comments, more industrious than I expected. Jelly happily munches on the food. Celestria warns her not to wander off again. Ange adds gently, you can stay here in peace. Even if people know you're a slime, it'll be fine. Jelly smiles so brightly. Yes, forever. This place feels like paradise. She will never leave. But then, a butterfly-shaped cookie tumbles off the table. She sprints after it, pops it in her mouth, and suddenly wakes twisted into an awkward position. She blinks. A dream. Feels like something important slipped her mind, but she shrugs. The dream was fun. Then, the cookies. Drool escapes, and she remembers with a startled scream. She promised Celestria they'd eat cookies together after investigating the barrier. Time to hurry. As she leaps up, a thought hits her. What about the mystery man? He was relentless. Humans are so hard to read. Meanwhile, far away, the mystery man enters a dark underground chamber. He removes his cloak, revealing his face. Kneeling before a group shrouded in shadows, he announces, Burger returns. A voice in the darkness asks coldly why he's back. Burger, confused, asks what they mean. He reports the supposed killing of Saint Jelly. The shadowed figure laughs, whispering until the others join. She's still alive, they say plainly. Burger's jaw drops. Shock. The man scowls. Struggling with one young girl, useless. You can't even repay me. Burger freezes. Impossible. It pierced her heart. No human survives that. He bows his head. Apologetic. The man warns him. Fail again, and he knows the consequences. Burger vows next time he will not fail. Elsewhere, someone asks about Jelly. The guard reports she hasn't returned. I'll check the mansion myself, the person says. In the market, whispers circulate. Saint Jelly received a revelation from the goddess. Some say she's completely changed. A young girl listens, wide-eyed. Back at the mansion, Jelly sleeps, dreaming about food. Aaron knocks gently. Breakfast soon. Jelly slowly rises. Aaron apologizes for disturbing her rest. Jelly waves it off. I asked to be woken properly for breakfast. Didn't I? Aaron asks what she wants to eat. Jelly sighs. I want the meal I missed in my dream. Meat. In the kitchen, Markov is determined to flex every culinary skill he has to impress the lady. He presents a burger with all the flair of a magician, revealing his final trick, a triple steak tower. Behold, my special recipe. Meat, lettuce, buns, layered to perfection. One bite, total euphoria. Jelly drools. Humans are incredible, she thinks, marveling at how they can turn food into art. The maids watch her happily devour it. One sighs, we're so used to seeing her like this now. Another adds, honestly, not bad at all. I kinda like this lady Jelly. As she munches, Jelly thinks the meat is divine. Life in the mansion is going surprisingly well. Too well. She can't stop thinking about that mysterious man. Those monsters, how did he train them? Treating them like puppies with snacks? And they understood human language perfectly? He is definitely her natural enemy. Well, as long as he doesn't know she's a slime, she's fine. Secret mission. Keep quiet. Aaron then asks if she wants tea. Jelly's eyes dart straight to the cookies. Tea and cookies, the pinnacle of human civilization. Comfortably human life is perfect. She can finally relax, eat cookies without worry, and not worry about sudden monster attacks. Just as she reaches for another cookie, Will appears. A messenger from the church, he announces. Jelly pauses, confused. But I already reported the barrier investigation. What now? She considers. Maybe it's a pleasant surprise. Perhaps a tea party invitation? I could even gift them some cookies. Will continues. He's inside. A chill runs down her spine. She looks at the stranger. Something about him makes her teeth chatter. Who is this man? He kneels and says calmly, it is an honor to meet you. I am Leon, the hero. The room freezes. Will blurts, wait, you mean the Leon? Dragon-slaying hero? Leon shrugs. I didn't actually slay a dragon. Hero might be a little much. Just think of me as a guard. Jelly goes rigid. Internally, No, my natural enemy is here. Did he find out I'm a slime? Leon explains he's under orders from the church. Jelly's heart drops. He came to kill me. She panics, shoveling cookies into her mouth like a squirrel in a sugar storm. But Leon continues, my mission is to stay by your side and protect you. The staff visibly relax. A hero as her personal bodyguard? Incredible. Leon adds, dead serious. Even if it costs me my life, I will protect you. Jelly panics internally. Stay with me all the time. Absolutely not. She must refuse somehow. Aaron steps forward, pleading gently. Will blurts, it'd be reassuring to have a hero protecting you. Jelly hesitates. Seeing their hopeful faces, she sighs. Fine. She agrees. Inside, once he finds out I'm a slime, I'm toast. Leon thanks her calmly. Jelly responds, strained and sweating. Oh no, my safe little life is officially over.